Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today let's go over the market and let's go over Tesla with a very euphoric move once again, as if, you just thought maybe it's finally done. It always, of course, surprises to the upside even more. But with all that being said, let's jump into it. If you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. Again, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Make your decisions, do your own research. And of course, I have my membership section live for $2.99 a month where I share intraday thoughts on Tesla as it moves. But jumping right into it, the market closing in just about 2 or 3 minutes rather. Looking like Tesla will be closing up just over 4%, putting us at almost, we'll say around $244 to $45. So what does this all mean, right? This is where things get interesting. Now, I want to make it very clear, ladies and gentlemen, technical analysis, when Tesla is doing these extremely euphoric rallies, technical analysis is less effective, right? Because essentially it's just euphorically short squeezing, FOMO buying, a whole combination of the two. And when Tesla does this, it is astronomical moves. Like the moves are crazy. Like, and this has happened not a lot, but when it does, it really happens. You know what I mean? And I'll be completely honest, technical analysis is a little bit weaker, at least in my opinion, from what I've seen even other people say, when Tesla's just going parabolic mode, right? So that being said, let's talk about it, right? So yesterday we discussed how Tesla is essentially in this channel, right? And as long as it's in this ascending channel, I said it's still bullish. Now, I will admit, I don't think it's this bullish. Now, to be fair, this was also because of news where, sometimes that does change things around, where GM now will be essentially, I believe, using Tesla's Supercharger network as well. Along with Ford, right? That was like last week, I think. Now GM as well will be joining Ford in terms of adapting or using Tesla Supercharger network for their vehicles, and also changing the plug itself, the plug type, to Tesla's plug type, which I think will start in a year or two. So regardless, right? Obviously pretty good stuff. So and Tesla just rallying after market, like, what was that? I think it was like 6% at some point. Now, obviously, definitely giving up some of the gains throughout the day. Not too surprising. This 250 level is a major level, which I did talk about in my section, membership section. I talked about how if we break above and hold, I think this now 265 will be next. But clearly, we're not above and we're not holding as of right now. Now, this doesn't mean that it's all over. As absolutely shocking as it might be, this doesn't mean Tesla's done yet, right? I mean, this candle that we're seeing today is a very, it's definitely more bearish than bullish, but it's not like, oh, this is the top kind of bearish candle, right? It's not anything super obvious in that sense. It's very similar to this candle right here, and we saw what happened the day after. So not the most bearish looking candle in the entire world, and I wouldn't, just flat out call this, the top for sure. And the way I look at it is as follows, right? To me, I'm actually seeing Tesla potentially in this, small little bull flag. Once again, it's bull flag number 20, it feels like at this rate, but nonetheless, right? I do think Tesla is potentially in this little mini bull flag right here, where, there is still, as shocking as it is, just when you think maybe this is the top, right, and there's no way it can go any higher, there is still a way, in my opinion. Now, there's a few caveats to point out, right, in terms of, levels to pay attention to be broken for more movement to the upside, and of course, maybe back to the downside finally, right? So if Tesla wants to move to the upside, essentially, obviously wants to break out of the small little bull flag, it's kind of intraday-ish it's setting up, where essentially it wants to pretty much break above, at this rate, probably like 246, maybe 7. And then the most key level will be 250, right? You can see if we go back in time, pretty much almost exactly 1 year from here, right? You can see this 250 level right here was a pretty massive area of resistance and just overall congestion over here, right? Several times we kind of danced around it, then we got rejected by several times over here, then we finally broke above it, and then of course we also have this massive gap right here, pretty much sitting at 265, we'll say roughly, right? Very large gap right over here that might actually surprisingly at this point get filled. So that's kind of the main thing I'll be looking at, right? If Tesla can break out of this bull flag to the north side, and then, of course, 250 will be the next level I'll be looking at if it can break above 250. Or in this case, I would ideally say break above this high of today, which is about 252.4-ish. Then, in my opinion, it unlocks the potential move all the way up to even 265, which from here will be another move of about 8%, which, I mean, at this point, it seems impossible. Like, there's no way it can go even higher, right? Because this thing's just been absolutely rocketing. Let's see how much it's been rallying so far. Ever since May 16th, it's been rallying. Pretty much in less than a month and, maybe like 3/4 of a month has rallied about 53%. Well, if we talk about from low to high, 53%, but to the close, about 48%, which is insane, right? That's a phenomenal rally. But, of course, we'll see if there's obviously more steam left. But now let's talk about the downside, right? So that's the upside, right? Break out of the bull flag, ideally break 250, and then potentially even go to 265. That's the upside. But now the downside, right? What could potentially happen for Tesla to now start moving downwards, right? finally start correcting? Well, first and foremost is, of course, breaking back into this overall channel. If Tesla breaks back into this overall channel, the next thing I'll be personally looking at is going to be the gap fill at this 234-ish level, right? Well, I guess the first level would be to see if it can bounce off of it. So essentially, you don't really want to fall back really under like 241, I would say, ish, 240, 241, somewhere around there. You really want to hold, and you don't want to fall back into this channel. So you pretty much want to see a breakout Monday, really, like early Monday, in my opinion, too, like within the first hour or two. If it doesn't, then most likely it's falling back into this channel, and then most likely it will come over and gap fill around this 234-ish level, right? That's the first level I'll be paying attention to. If it does come down like this, what happens? Does it just gap fill? Because once it gap fills, most likely maybe Monday, maybe Tuesday, right? It'll most likely also be at the bottom of the channel once again. So it'll kind of, you know, coincide together, and then maybe from there it can potentially get a nice bounce from there as well to the upside, which will also coincide with retesting 250 once again over here. Maybe set a double top, who knows? But that's kind of one thing I'll be personally looking at. However, for the true ultimate downside, if that's what the bears or, you know, someone that wants to buy lower again or whatever are looking for, you essentially, like I said before, wanted to break out of this channel right here, assuming it goes back into it, of course. And if it does, then that's going to be, you know, that's when I think the mini bearishness, if you will, the mini correction, the retrace, the cool off period will begin. And essentially, let's say we do something like this, and then we finally move out from it like that, right? And then I think that's when the cool off period will finally begin for Tesla. Because again, guys, like I said, I know there's a lot of people being very mean, by the way, in the comments, guys. I don't appreciate the meanness. A lot of people are being very mean lately. It always happens when Tesla's very euphoric and anyone says anything negative. The comments are always so mean. I remember this exact same thing happening back when Tesla was trading right in this congestion period. I was, you know, pretty much saying the exact same things. Obviously, I was early, and I'm always a little early with this. I don't know why. I've always noticed that. I'm always early calling tops like this with Tesla. The move I talk about usually ends up happening, but just I'm always way too early. Anyway, same thing happened here. I remember that I was way too early, and, you know, it went sideways for quite a while, and people got very mad at me. And then obviously, you know, we fell. I don't think this level of fall will happen, because in my opinion, Tesla is pretty bullish overall, even though I do think a very short-term correction is due at some point very soon. It's still very, very bullish from here on out, right? Regardless, even after the correction. Now, the question, of course, is once it finally does correct, because it will, the RSI is sitting at absolutely ridiculous levels of 86 pretty much. Where will it, you know, correct to, right? What's the level that, you know, you could potentially buy the dip, right? Well, again, the classic Fibonacci. Again, we're always using this as of assuming this is the current top. Again, like I said, there is still an absolutely real possibility Tesla goes up to gap fill around that 265 level. That is still a real possibility. But again, just assuming for now, for theoretical purposes, this is the top today. Today's high is the top. Let's see where it could potentially correct to, assuming the correction starts, let's say, from here roughly, right? Well, again, I've always talked about this, but the most important levels to me from a correction like this, assuming you want to keep the momentum in the same direction, in this case, overall up, right? Even though, of course, you will have corrections, mini corrections in between, but the overall move is still to the upside. I pretty much want to see it come somewhere between the 0.382 to the 0.5 level, which essentially at this point will be between 214 to pretty much 200, anywhere between that area. Worst case scenario will be 190. I don't think we'll get there now because the move is just so powerful. But, you know, usually when a stock, not just Tesla, but when a stock is just going completely straight up like this with extremely little downside and pretty much just nonstop green and pretty aggressive green as well, it usually falls pretty hard as well once this euphoria is done at some point, whenever it does finish. Who knows when? That's always the main question. No one knows when it'll stop, but eventually the music does stop. I just want to make it very clear, right? So I just want people to be aware of that. I don't want people to be caught off guard when Tesla just decides to, you know, plummet from here potentially. Maybe it goes up even more to 65 and then plummets from there. Whatever. At some point, this always happens. Again, not just Tesla, any stock in general. The faster it rises, the harder it also falls, right? It is what it is. That's just how stocks go, right? But regardless, whenever the top is finally confirmed, which again, to me, this candle isn't really that bearish. So to me, this top isn't like 100% confirmed. This is like kind of a very mediocre potential top, but it's not super convincing. But assuming this is right, again, 214, 202 would be the level I'll be personally paying attention to really, you know, really start buying that this dip and probably move up another rally upwards, right? So we'll see what happens. Now, keep in mind, one thing that's important to note, again, I also have that 3-day rule, maybe 4-day rule, but, you know, we've broken over this T line before, right? Over here. Now, these obviously came back down under the T line pretty damn quickly. And this, I mean, Tesla would have to quite literally crash on Monday for it to come back underneath this T line. Is it possible? Yes. Will it happen? I don't know. I don't think it will, but, you know, we'll see. But if Tesla comes back and crashes back underneath this teal line, that'll be pretty bearish. And that, of course, I think for sure we'll see pretty much 200 almost on the dots. But if Tesla continues to maintain above this teal line, like for another like several days, especially, you know, it puts a lot more weight on this teal line acting as a potential support. So if we come down to somewhere around this teal line, which is pretty much going to be around 230-ish, that is a potential area for some pretty respectable support that I absolutely would not ignore. So as an example, you know, again, all assuming this is the short-term top, one thing that can happen is we can move down like this, get a nice bounce from here, and then go like this, and then ultimately make that way to that level I talked about, right? That's just one way it could potentially move that I foresee. But that's the overall gist of what I am seeing right now. So let me know what you think, ladies and gentlemen, down below. Even though I'm sure there's been a lot of comments getting very mad at me, because lately there's been a lot of comments getting very upset. But yeah, it is what it is. You know, people, of course, you know, emotions are a thing in humans, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, nonetheless, that's kind of what I am seeing. But again, guys, with an RSI being this very, 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 very high, not to say that Tesla can't go any higher, but you know, it is just, be cautious in my opinion, right? This at this point to me is assuming you're trading and not just buying for the long term, it really starts getting into gambling territory, right? So we'll see, but that's kind of the main thing I'm seeing, guys. Let me know down below again what you think. I still think there's potential further upside. I told you the levels to break, and of course, you know, there's obviously a chance that this is the top and we go even further down. Also told you the levels to pay attention to for that as well. But yeah, that's kind of what I am seeing. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday. Peace.